What is the self that you believe to be you? Is it your thoughts, your emotions, your memories? Many people go through life without questioning this sense of identity. But when we look closely, we begin to see that what we call the self is not as solid as it appears. From the moment we wake up in the morning, thoughts fill our minds. Some bring us joy, others bring us worry. One moment we feel confident, the next we doubt ourselves. If our sense of self is built upon these shifting thoughts and emotions, then who are we really? Can something so unstable be the essence of our being? Consider a river. At first glance, it appears to be a single, flowing body of water. But when we observe closely, we realize that the water is always moving, always changing. No single drop of water remains in the same place. If you try to grasp the river with your hands, you find nothing solid to hold on to. The self is much the same. We believe in a fixed identity, yet it is constantly changing, shaped by experiences, shaped by time. Some people say, "I am my mind." But if that were true, then when the mind becomes silent, do we disappear? Others say, "I am my body." But the body too is changing. The body you had as a child is not the same as the body you have now. Your skin, your bones, even the cells of your heart have been replaced many times. If your body is not the same as it was years ago, can it truly define who you are? When we hold tightly to the illusion of a permanent self, we suffer. We become attached to our past, fearing that we are losing something. We become anxious about the future, afraid of what we might become. But when we begin to see that the self is not something fixed, we open ourselves to a new way of being, one that is lighter, freer, and unburdened by the need to define ourselves. This realization is not something to be understood only with the mind. It must be seen directly, like waking up from a dream. When we stop chasing after the self and simply observe, we begin to notice something deeper, something beyond the thoughts, beyond the emotions, beyond the ever-changing river of identity. And in that quiet space, we may catch a glimpse of our true nature. Why do we suffer? At the heart of our suffering lies attachment, the deep clinging to things, ideas, and identities. We believe that if we hold on to the right things, we will find security and happiness. But in truth, attachment binds us. It creates fear, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. Think about the things you value most. It could be your relationships, your achievements, or even your beliefs about yourself. These things bring comfort, but they also bring fear, the fear of loss. If we define ourselves by our success, what happens when failure comes? If we define ourselves by our relationships, what happens when people change or leave? This fear shows us the fragile nature of attachment. We often chase after pleasure, hoping it will make us complete. But pleasure is temporary. The joy of a new possession fades, the excitement of an achievement passes, and even the people we love cannot remain unchanged. When we expect these things to bring lasting happiness, we set ourselves up for suffering. It is not the objects or experiences themselves that cause pain, but our attachment to them. Some believe that letting go means giving up or rejecting life. But letting go is not about losing love, joy, or meaning. It is about seeing them clearly. Imagine holding a bird in your hand. If you grip it too tightly, you harm it. If you open your hand, the bird is free, yet it may still stay with you. In the same way, we can appreciate life's experiences without clinging to them. The mind resists this idea. It wants to hold on, to control, to possess. But ask yourself, has attachment ever brought you true peace? The more we cling, the more restless we become. Letting go is not an act of force. It is the natural result of understanding. When we truly see the nature of things, how they arise, change, and fade, we no longer need to cling. When you loosen your grip on attachments, you do not lose yourself. Instead, you discover something deeper, something untouched by external circumstances. You become like the sky, vast and open, watching the clouds pass by without trying to hold them. Freedom is not found in having more, achieving more, or controlling more. It is found in releasing the tight grasp we have on things that were never meant to be held forever. And in that release, we find a peace that cannot be shaken. Everything in life is changing. This is not just a philosophy, but an undeniable truth. Yet we resist this truth. We want to hold on to what is pleasant and push away what is painful. We try to keep things the same, even when we know deep inside that nothing can truly remain unchanged. This resistance is a source of suffering. Look around you. The seasons change. The sun rises and sets. Rivers flow, and the wind moves through the trees. Your body is not the same as it was yesterday. The thoughts in your mind are different from those you had an hour ago. Even the emotions you feel, joy, sadness, anger, come and go like waves on the ocean. If everything is in constant motion, why do we cling to the illusion of permanence? We suffer because we expect things to last. We believe that if we find the perfect relationship, the perfect job, or the perfect situation, we will finally be happy. But when these things inevitably change, we feel lost. The person we love grows distant. The success we worked for fades. The body that was once strong becomes weak. We struggle because we try to hold on to what is always slipping through our fingers. Does this mean life is meaningless? Not at all. In fact, impermanence is what makes life precious. Imagine if nothing changed, if everything remained exactly the same forever. There would be no growth, no new experiences, no transformation. A flower is beautiful not despite its short life, but because of it. The fleeting nature of life gives each moment its value. When we deeply understand impermanence, we stop taking things for granted. We appreciate what we have while it is here, knowing that it will not last forever. Instead of clinging, we learn to embrace each experience fully and let it go when the time comes. We stop fighting the natural flow of life and begin to move with it. Some might ask, if everything changes, what can I rely on? The answer is not in external things, but in the understanding itself. When you accept impermanence, you find a kind of stability, not in things remaining the same, but in the ability to meet change with an open heart. Life is like a river. If you try to stop the water, you only create resistance. But if you flow with it, you discover a freedom beyond control. And in that freedom, you may come to see the deeper truth beyond change. In our daily lives, there is always movement, noise, responsibilities, thoughts rushing through the mind. We are constantly reacting, planning, remembering, and analyzing. This endless activity becomes so normal that we rarely stop to ask, what happens when all of this settles? Most people believe that their thoughts define them. They think, I am the one who is thinking. But have you ever watched your own mind? Thoughts appear and disappear, one after another, like clouds moving across the sky. Sometimes they are pleasant, sometimes they are troubling. But no matter what thoughts arise, there is something in you that remains unchanged, the silent awareness that notices them. Imagine a still lake. When the surface is disturbed, it becomes difficult to see clearly. But when the water is calm, it reflects everything perfectly. Our minds are the same. When we are caught in endless thinking, we see the world through a restless and clouded mind. But when we become still, reality reveals itself as it is, clear, open, and undistorted. Stillness does not mean stopping all thoughts. It is not about forcing the mind to be silent. Instead, it is about noticing the space that is already there. Between each thought, there is a gap. Between each sound, there is silence. We are usually so focused on what is happening that we miss the quiet space in between. But if we shift our attention, we begin to notice that stillness is always present. Many people search for peace by changing their external circumstances. They think, if I can just solve this problem, get this thing, or go to this place, I will finally be at peace. But peace is not something to be found outside. It is something that arises when we stop chasing, stop resisting, and simply allow ourselves to be fully present. To awaken to stillness, one must only pause. Stop looking for something outside of this moment. Listen, not just to the sounds around you, but to the silence beneath them. Feel, not just your body, but the stillness within it. Observe, not just your thoughts, but the awareness that watches them come and go. When we touch this stillness, we realize that it has always been here. It is not something we must create. It is the natural state of our being. And from this place of quiet presence, life unfolds in a way that is deeper, richer, and more true. Many people seek answers in the world around them. They look to books, teachers, traditions, or even the opinions of others to tell them who they are and what life means. While external knowledge can be valuable, true clarity does not come from outside. It arises from within. We often confuse knowledge with wisdom. Knowledge is collected, stored, and repeated. It fills the mind with facts, theories, and ideas. But wisdom is different. It is not something we accumulate. It is something we realize. Knowledge is like reading about the ocean, but wisdom is like standing on the shore and feeling the waves. One is information, the other is direct experience. True clarity comes when we begin to observe reality as it is, without the filters of expectation, fear, or past conditioning. When we stop trying to fit life into our ideas, and instead allow ourselves to see things as they are, a deeper understanding arises. But this is not always easy. The mind is filled with layers of conditioning, beliefs shaped by culture, experiences, and past impressions. We see not only with our eyes, but with our expectations. When something happens, we immediately judge it as good or bad, desirable or undesirable. These judgments cloud our perception. To see clearly, we must first recognize these filters and allow them to dissolve. Imagine looking through a stained glass window. The colors distort the light, changing how you see the world outside. If you believe the colors are reality, you will never know what the world truly looks like. But if you realize that the glass is only a filter, you can look beyond it. In the same way, when we become aware of our conditioned thoughts and opinions, we stop being controlled by them. Inner clarity does not come from effort alone. It comes from allowing the mind to settle, much like a pond that becomes clear when it is undisturbed. When we stop grasping for answers and simply observe, we begin to see what was always there. With clarity, we no longer search for meaning in temporary things. We no longer feel lost when the world changes. Instead, we move through life with a deep understanding that goes beyond words. And in that understanding, we find something more real than any idea or belief, the direct experience of our own true nature. Understanding something is not the same as living it. Many people hear words of wisdom, nod in agreement, and then return to old habits. Real transformation happens when insight is not just an idea in the mind, but something that shapes how we live each moment. True awareness is not about escaping from the world. It is not about retreating to a quiet place and avoiding difficulties. Instead, it is about meeting life fully, just as it is. Whether we are working, talking to others, or facing challenges, we can remain present. When we are aware, we do not react blindly to situations. We respond with clarity. Most of the time, we live in the past or the future. We replay old memories, wishing things had been different. Or we worry about what might happen tomorrow, next week, or next year. But the past is gone, and the future has not yet come. The only reality is this moment. If we miss this moment, we miss life itself. To live with true awareness means to stop being lost in thoughts and to wake up to the present. It means to fully experience the simple things. A sip of tea, the sound of the wind, the feeling of the ground beneath our feet. These small moments are not distractions, they are life itself. But awareness is not only about seeing the beauty in life. It is also about facing pain with openness. Suffering comes when we resist what is happening. When we fight against reality, we create tension within ourselves. But when we meet pain with awareness, something changes. The pain may still be there, but the struggle disappears. We see things clearly, and clarity brings peace. People often ask, how do I stay aware all the time? The answer is simple. Begin again. No one is aware in every moment. The mind will wander, and that is natural. But each time we notice that we have become lost in thoughts, we have the chance to return. Each time we bring our attention back to the present, we strengthen our awareness. In the end, true awareness is not a technique or a skill. It is simply being alive, fully and completely. It is the recognition that this moment, right now, is enough. When we live this way, we no longer search for something outside ourselves. We realize that everything we have been seeking has always been here, in the depth of our own being. Words can guide us, but they can never fully express the depth of true understanding. No teaching, no philosophy, no explanation can replace direct experience. The journey toward realizing your true nature is not about collecting more ideas. It is about seeing clearly, beyond concepts, beyond thoughts, beyond the illusion of a separate self. If you have listened to these reflections, you may have noticed something. The truth is not something distant or hidden. It is not something you must chase. It has always been here, in this very moment. When the mind becomes quiet, when there is no grasping, no resistance, no need to define or explain, there it is, a deep, unshakable presence. This path is not about escaping from life, but about meeting it fully. When we stop clinging to changing things, we find peace. When we stop searching outside ourselves, we realize that what we have been looking for has never been separate from us. True freedom is not found in achieving something new, but in recognizing what has always been here. There is nothing to force, nothing to struggle for. Just this, just now. If you pause and look deeply, you may already sense it. The quiet space within you, the awareness that does not change. This is your true nature, and it has never left you. Before ending, I want to express my deep gratitude. Your presence, your willingness to reflect, and your engagement mean a great deal. Whether you have shared your thoughts in the comments, supported this channel through super thanks, or simply taken the time to listen, I sincerely appreciate it. Your kindness and encouragement allow these teachings to continue reaching those who seek them. May your journey be one of clarity, peace, and deep understanding. And may you always remember, what you seek is already within you.